Hello and welcome to the Keto Man's Club podcast.
We're glad you're here, where each week we talk about men's health and lifestyle.
We do so with the foundation of the ketogenic diet and lifestyle.
If you don't know what keto is, stick around and you'll find out.
The podcast will bring you real, honest fun.
Each week we strive to uncover the tips and tricks that you can use in your everyday life to maximize your overall health.
Find the clearest path to becoming the best version of yourself that you were meant to be.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Keto Man's Club podcast. My name is Chris. I'm one of your co-hosts, and we're excited to have you here today. We've got another one of our Keto Man's Club members joining us today, and we are excited to get to talk with him and get to hear a little bit about his story on as it relates to the ketogenic journey and all of that. He's a strong man. It's going to be good. Just really, truthfully, it's going to be a great conversation. So you stick around. Before we do, let me go ahead and introduce my co-host so that we can make sure that everybody knows everybody. To my virtual right, I have Mr. Jim Inman. Say hi, Jim.
Hello, sir. How are you tonight, this morning, today, whatever time our listeners catching us?
Yes, I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
And to my virtual left, we have Mr. Alberto Casillas. Say hi.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Okay, so we are, having a great week. It's been just to go ahead and give you some perspective on when we're recording this versus when the podcasts have come out. We just released today, episode 2. So we're recording this a little bit in advance, and that's cool. It's fine. So the reviews so far have been pretty good, and we actually wanted to highlight one of those reviews. Let me go ahead and bring that up.
Well, Chris is bringing that up. We are very grateful for the people who are finding us on different platforms as well. Of course, iTunes, the podcast options there, but also Spotify, our Facebook group. People are finding the links that we're putting in there. We started an Instagram as well. So people are finding us all over the place. And kudos to all of you men out there that are listening, enjoying it, and finding us wherever the case may be. As the podcast grows, we're really excited to have you subscribe and continue to listen as we bring you all these great stories of the men in the Keto Man's Club. And it's just awesome how the first 10 days or so in the first 2 editions or 2 episodes have done so far.
So I found that review, and this one is from That Fat Guy 73. So probably formerly fat, hopefully. But those IDs kind of stick with you. And this was a 5-star review, and he said, "Finally a place for men to talk keto. There's a lot of podcasts about keto that are by men and feature men, but this one puts it out there that they're going to offer support and perspective specifically to guys living a keto journey. I think that's a unique take on this landscape, and I can't wait to see what's to come. The hosts clearly get that we all approach this way of eating, this way of life, really, from different angles, and I think together they'll represent the spectrum well. Good job so far, gents." That just warms my heart. When I read that today, I was just like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I wanted whenever I first got this inkling of an idea. And when me and Jim and Alberto all started talking about putting this thing together, that was our heart, right, guys?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So it's awesome to hear the feedback, echoing back exactly what we were hoping that you guys out there listening would be able to get from our podcast. So excited to get to see that type of response. So what else is going on in the Ketoverse? Jim, do you have anything?
I wasn't sure which one was going to go first there.
Usually we just talk over each other.
Exactly. We'll edit that out in the follow-up.
Yeah.
So, I think the continued growth of the group, number one, we're seeing a lot of guys as we transition from spring into summer. And, we're seeing the before and after photos continuing on. Guys are putting up pictures of, our buddy Joey, who was on a week or so back on one of the previous episodes. You can listen to that in the archives. But he had swim trunks that he had bought in a size medium. Hadn't been in those for years, he said. Excuse me. So just that transition and getting out and things has been fantastic. It's just wonderful to see guys taking this on and really maximizing the keto way of life and how it's improving in a lot of different ways for them.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Alberto, how about you? What's going on with your world?
Just another week. Work's getting crazy busy, which is adding a little bit of stress on everything. I will add that my newborn son, who's now just over 2 months old, is finally allowing us 5 to 6 hours of continued sleep, which is a godsend. I wake up, when he wakes up at 2 a.m. so he can eat, and I lay in bed wide awake because my body is just completely not used to getting that much sleep in a row. So that is a beautiful thing. I also want to throw a little shout out to the guy I talked way too much about in general, who is now my good friend, John Oakes, had surgery. I had a big tumor removed. That apparently went well. He seems to be on the mend. He's posting videos of himself being himself again. So that's always good to see.
He was in the store being a gangster.
Yes. It almost crashed into someone.
Yeah, and then almost crashed into him. So yeah. So it's been a good week. So
what about you, Christopher?
Oh, in my world, it's been pretty just busy, as is always. I've been in some training stuff for a new role at work, which has starting to wrap up, and at least the training, and then the new role is kind of kicking in. Starting to try to take some calls. Very slow coming in right now, so I don't get to. I've got mentors over my shoulder, and they're not able to really mentor much because I'm not getting the right type calls yet. But that is what it is. That's the life of a call center person. So I can live with that. That's okay. So yeah, it's pretty much just pretty standard keto life for me in general. So okay, well, Alberto, let's go ahead and dive in and introduce our guest.
Right on. First, a little backstory, which I'm sure he's going to find amusing. He had a hold of me. We met actually on another Facebook page, the Ketogenic Athlete, which I help admin that page too. And he had some very interesting questions about his training of choice. So he friended me, and we went back and forth, got along instantly. And one day on his feed pops up this little thing about a deadlift hex bar challenge. And so he put on there, I've been seeing this challenge. And mind you, this is exactly how it read. He's been seeing this challenge floating around. Basically, you load weight onto a hex bar and you go for 100 reps in the shortest amount of time possible. And the way it read was, I just put 225 pounds on, which was probably 5 or 10 pounds more than he was weighing at the time. And I did it in 15:54. I looked it up. I researched it. That was your time, 15:54. And so my dumbass says, this is intriguing. So what do? I go to the gym. I load up 225 pounds on a hex bar. I go for this thing, finish it in just over 13 minutes, I might add. Get a hold of him to brag to him, in which he tells me, 225, I just took my body weight and rounded up. You were supposed to do it at your body weight for the 100 reps. I weigh 175 pounds. So I loaded that bar with 50 pounds more than I weigh. Needless to say, I beat his time. Hopefully I impressed him a little bit, and it completely ruined me for like the next 2 or 3 days where I could barely walk. Like driving hurt. I was so sore. And with that, I would like to introduce our guest, Aaron Overstreet. He is a member of the Keto Man's Club, and he is a strongman, a competitive strongman. And I'm really looking forward to this interview. And man, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Hey, how's it going, guys? That is an amazing story. And yes, you impressed me enough to continue our friendship. How about that?
Well, I do recall the day later. It was a day or two later. I was messaging you, just pretty much cursing you out.
Yep. I believe it was a couple of paragraphs of words I can't mention on the podcast, but that's okay.
I've never had tears come to my eyes while using a foam roller until after that experience. That is for sure.
That's the only way to make it work, right, man?
And it did. For sure it
did. I tell you a week or two later I did it in 11 minutes?
Oh, you had to say that, didn't you?
And it's recorded now, so the challenge has been put out.
All right. Well, in all fairness, I'm going to stick to the 225.
All right. That's cool. I'm down with that.
Alberto, I will faithfully stand beside you and film you. I will not participate.
Oh, don't think you're getting out of this.
What I got myself into. Anyway.
Yeah, Chris, you're going to be there with him. You got to do it too, man.
Yeah, they only have 1 hex bar.
It'll be one of those things where that will be the only thing we do that day, because I did not make that. I made that mistake last time where it was not the only thing. I did that, and then I did my 200 times 200, which is another story in itself. And that was let's just say I've matured and learned since those 2 experiences combined.
Oh, no, you haven't. We can talk into some other dumb stuff, I'm sure.
All you got to say is challenge for him, and he's like on board.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a guy who sees the 5K path that's coming by his house and just suddenly signs up to go running. So it'll
pretty much.
Yeah, I can't argue.
Pretty much.
So Aaron, For the people that don't know, because I really didn't know until you started posting all these videos and stuff here online, but explain exactly what a strongman is and what a strongman does, and pretty much your training sport of choosing.
Strongman is pretty much picking up the dumbest stuff you can pick up as heavy as you can for either time, reps, or max effort weight. There's multiple different levels, just like any sport. You have regular local stuff, you have regionals, nationals, world's strongest. Obviously, that's the stuff you're going to see on TV on ESPN. I don't know if anybody that's listening's ever caught any of that on TV, but you got guys pulling tanks with a rope attached to their back. You got anything and everything. Picking up boat anchors that are hundreds and hundreds of pounds, flipping 1,000-pound tires, carrying 1,000 pounds on their back. The world record deadlift is 1,150 pounds right now. It's just anything crazy and stupid.
And you got into this because how?
Right. Well, I've seen it on TV and I've always thought it was cool ever since I was a kid, as long as I can remember. But about 2 years ago, I became friends with a powerlifter that also did strongman, and he knew the gym owners for the gym that I go to now, Quad City Strongman. And I went down there one time and hung out with him and trained a little bit and fell in love and have been doing it ever since.
Okay.
Very cool. So let's go back to the beginning. We've kind of gotten into what the strongman stuff is, but kind of give us a summary of who you are, where you came from, things like that. Kind of give us some background on Aaron.
Right, for sure. Currently I'm 40, well, 39. I'll be 40 in February. I've been doing keto since January, the second week, I believe. I started around 240 some pounds. I'm now down to 210 to 215 ish. My competition weight class that I tried to stay in is 220. So luckily, when I go low enough, I get to just eat more, kind of like what Alberto just did. My whole life, I've been overweight, pretty much as long as I can remember. I got made fun of when I was in elementary school for being the fat kid. I just always loved eating, still do, of course, but obviously different stuff. But I just always ate and ate and ate and ate and ate, and I was overweight. And when I was about 18, I met a guy that was into bodybuilding, and he actually talked me into going to the gym with him once. He told me after a couple of years of training together that he never expected me to come back after that first day, just because I was a punk kid and he didn't think anything of it, just invited me over, and I fell in love with lifting. And I tried to follow bodybuilding for years, but I wasn't competing in bodybuilding and I wasn't quite training like a bodybuilder, but I was reading all of the food that they were consuming. So I would eat like a mofo, like 6 full meals a day, snacks on top of that, just eat. And throughout that course of time, my highest was 320 pounds. And then from then, I've done a plethora of different kinds of training regimens, from bodybuilding, powerlifting, strongman. I've competed in the Highland Games. I've done Beachbody programs, at-home videos, all kinds of different stuff to lose the weight.
So when you say at your top you were 325, was this fat? Was this muscle? Because if you're working out so much, obviously you said the 6 meals a day, but if you're working out, were you ripped? What was your body
No,
type
I wish.
like?
That's what I had hoped, reading the magazines and following the programs, but no, I was super fatty.
Okay.
I mean, there was muscle underneath there, and I was somewhat strong at that time, but I don't even know my body fat percentage at that time. I guarantee it was probably 30%, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, I started delivering bread, which is kind of funny since I do keto now and don't eat anything that I deliver. But I started delivering bread, and one morning I bent over to tie my shoes at work, and I couldn't breathe from tying my shoes. I believe I was 24, 26, and decided that I needed to do something. And so I, did the bro diet and the bodybuilding diet, and I lost some weight and enjoyed bodybuilding. So I eventually went from 320 down to 176 pounds and competed in bodybuilding.
Wow.
And then, that was over the course of a couple of years. But, and then after that, my celebratory meal was 2 days straight of all the carbs I could cram into my face. And I never saw my abs again. So.
Okay.
So obviously you've kind of been around the block a few times, going up and down, one way or another. And you found some things that worked for you, meaning that you worked your tail off, but that didn't stick. And was that just the lifestyle, or was that the method wasn't good enough, or and I guess the core of my question more is, as compared to that time whenever you did such a big cut and got down so low to now, what's the difference and what's the thing that's going to make this keto thing stick for you?
Right. Perfect question. So I feel like I've always been addicted to food. Like that's what I do. If I'm upset, I eat. If I'm happy, I eat. If I'm mad, I eat. If we're celebrating, I eat. That's what we do. So, I would always just eat whatever also. Or like I would diet down and get to a certain weight and feel comfortable and or would get compliments and people would tell me I would look good or whatever. I'm like, okay, I can have that donut now. That's fine. Okay, that was just one donut. I can have two or three or four or six or 12. And it's always been a cycle. I've always gone up 20 or 40 pounds and then down and then up and then down. I've tried keto multiple times before and always enjoyed it. But then again, once I got to a certain weight or felt like that was good enough, I'd get off it and just eat garbage. So, and then getting into strength sports like powerlifting and strongman, if you ever see any of them, the majority of them are usually fat. I mean, they're super duper strong and muscular, but they're usually fat as well. So my last time going from 240 down to 220 to make my weight for competition, I decided to get back on keto and stick with it, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
All right. So your last competition, you had posted I'm taking this back to Strongman. You had posted a bunch of pictures and a bunch of videos of to make sure I get this right. You were carrying kegs. You were pulling a truck. You were carrying what looked like just these weighted plates on a T-handle up and down stairs.
Yep.
It seemed like it was all for time, and not gonna lie, it looked really, really hard. So was this the first strongman competition you've done strictly keto, or is this your first strongman competition altogether?
This, I believe, this last one that I just had was it March? That was, I believe, my fifth competition and in my first keto competition. Being in the ketogenic athlete and the keto man's group, I haven't been able to find a whole lot of information about strength sports and keto. A lot of the people are like runners or Ironman athletes or whatever. And no matter what I looked for, it seemed like there wasn't a whole lot of strength athletes doing keto. So I decided that since I couldn't find the information, that I was just going to do it myself and try and figure it out. Mostly that was because of Alberto also, because he told me since I couldn't find the information that I needed to do it myself and write a book. So I figured I might as well give it a shot and see how it went.
Well, in that case, you're welcome.
Thanks, buddy.
And you will have to put an acknowledgement to him in the thank yous before you print and everything.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember that specific conversation when he was asking about it, and it was crickets because there's power lifters, people that power lift on keto, but strongman I would say is comparable to powerlifting, but it's also a different monster. And this guy's picking up the logs and axle deadlifts and circus dumbbells and stuff like that, and no one had been able to give him a response, and I sure didn't have one. So I said, well, like, if I were you, this is how I would approach it. And while you're at it, no one can offer you advice, so why don't you write the book?
Right.
And it kind of just stuck with him for a minute, and he seems to be doing pretty damn well ever since.
Yep, absolutely.
So let me ask you something, Aaron. When you're these competitions and things, I know that you said that you've done keto off and on over the years, but you kind of started back right at the start of this year. Have you talked to other guys, other athletes, I guess, men and women both, who have done keto or are doing? Have they seen the benefits like what you are seeing in yourself over the last 6-7 months or so?
Like strength wise, or just?
Or are you? Well, I mean, I guess let me rephrase it. Are you the lone keto strongman out there, or are there others that are doing this as well? And maybe you're getting some feedback like, man, I never expected that you could do this eating steak and cheese all day type thing.
No, like at my gym, we have multiple athletes in powerlifting and in strongman, men and women. And it seems like almost everybody's tried keto, but nobody sticks with it. And then to my knowledge, I'm the only one that, I haven't talked to everyone in the sport, obviously. So
sure, yeah.
I'm the only one I know that has stuck it out so long and continued to train and compete in any strength sport.
Why do you feel that this is the right thing for you in where you're at in your workout and strongman journey?
Well, it mostly boils down to I'm almost 40 and being overweight. I don't want to be fat my whole life. Obviously, that's how most of us are. And it, a lot of the stuff that I've read, watched, listened to talks about how healthy of a lifestyle eating keto is.
Fair point.
And I'm totally down with that.
Good.
And so far, it hasn't affected anything negatively in any way. So there's, I don't see any point in changing.
Sure.
So
Sure, and that's a perfect follow, or that kind of feeds my follow-up question. A lot of times, endurance athletes and other athletes that are higher performance, they often complain that they'll feel this energy dip whenever they go keto or these different things. What was that experience like for you as a practicing professional athlete? Did you see a dip in performance, or has it been only a boost?
in the beginning, I would say the first couple of months or so, like it's kind of felt like things slowed down a little bit. Like sometimes I was sluggish, sometimes I didn't feel quite as strong as I was previously. But I geared everything off of going into that last competition because they determine the weights, they predetermine the weights for you. And so training for the previous competition to this second one, my strength felt pretty much the same. I didn't feel off or anything.
Okay, very good.
So it all went very well to me.
Well, that's great, and that's you always want that, and it makes sense. There's probably going to be a little bit of adjustment when your body is switching fuel sources. It's like switching your car to run propane instead of, or solar instead of gasoline. It's just a totally different fuel, and so it takes a little while to get all the gears in the right places and get the mechanisms loosened up because they've always been there. Your body just didn't get the chance to use them. So outside of the sports, what type of impact have you seen, or outside of sport and the benefit of like losing weight and the other health benefits that you've seen? What other things are you noticing now that you've been keto for a few months and have really dove in deep?
As far as like how I
How you
feel,
feel,
or
life in general, all that.
gotcha. Well, I mean, with eating in the keto style, I feel healthier and lighter, and everything seems not easier, I guess, but like when I would eat carbs and junk, you just feel bad. So work life would be slow, and I'd be grumpier and whatever. But when it's time to put the pedal to the metal, I usually feel good throughout the day. And
What about have you had any medical checkups, or have you been to a doctor over the years? Have they seen any changes in blood work or physiology or anything like that?
unfortunately, no. I just never really bothered. The only thing I've ever done is weighed in at a local supplement store and have kept track of weight and muscle mass and all that kind of stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I haven't checked any actual medical situations.
Well,
I
let me
just
tell
know
you,
that I feel better.
when you turn 40, your eyesight goes and then just fall apart. No, I'm kidding. You enjoy your life
Well, with this
situation before
lifestyle,
you
it
turn
happened
40, man.
sooner, but
No, totally kidding. Totally kidding. You going back, not to ask another question, but when you said you growing up, you're a big kid and all of that, was that family trait kind of thing? Because some people will say, well, I'm just big bone like everybody else in my family, or whatever the case may be. Was this part of your lifestyle, or were you odd man out at times?
family wise, it was less than half. I mean, some cousins, aunts, uncles, whatever, were overweight. My dad was overweight most of my life, and he would crash diet and fluctuate huge numbers. And dieting off and on half my life. It's just that's been part of it.
Yeah.
So you said that you were doing some of the like the in-body scale scan is what I'm probably guessing that you've been doing at the health food store.
Yep.
And since going keto this time, you're losing weight. Kind of confirm for us because guys like me and Alberto, we know that this is the case. I know that I'm building muscle mass. I know that Alberto's only built muscle mass for a long time. But kind of give added fuel to the fire to the conversation that you can build and or keep muscle, but do keto. What are those numbers showing you?
See, I knew you were going to test me. I wish I had my paperwork. I knew you were going to do that to me. So
We told you
I
there was
try
a
to go
test.
if I,
Come on.
right. See, I always fail. I told you I was going to fail. Anyways, if I remember to go, I try and go once a month. And like I said, when I started in January, I was about 240, and I've gone down 10 pounds a month roughly, pretty steadily. That's another big thing about eating this way. It seems like it's always pretty steady. There's not a whole lot of fluctuation, but every single time I've gone in, I've been lower in body fat, and I've either had the same amount of muscle mass or more consistently this whole entire time.
Are you where you want to be?
Well, I am at home, so I think I am where I want to be.
Well, I'm talking physically though with this weight loss. Shut up. This call is coming to an end. No, just
Oh, sweet. That's all I had to do to get rid of him, huh, guys? All right. I get asked that question often, because people see the difference and see the weight loss and, well, when are you going to stop? What are you going to, where do you want to be? And the only good answer I have is that I want to be as lean as I can, be as strong as I can, and be as healthy as I can for as long as I can. And my weight class that I compete in is the 220 weight class, so I have to stay just under that. But once you get down to like I think it's 198 maybe, then that bumps me out of that weight class. If I go down that weight class, that's probably fine. But I'm not like, the scale doesn't matter to me. I just want to be as lean and as strong as I can be. So if that's 220 solid muscle like Alberto, then I'm all for it.
He's the end of 220. No, that's awesome, man. So just we keep talking about strongman, we keep bringing up training, and let's run through some of your numbers. Give us your favorite and least favorite lift, your strongest and your weakest lifts, and if you got to go into a little explanation, because some of the stuff that you do is a little, it's not your typical lifts that you would see at a gym, but you've moved some numbers, man. So lay it on us. What are your favorite moves?
Well, my absolute most favorite is deadlift. It doesn't matter what kind or how it gets done, but deadlifting. I've deadlifted a car for 21 reps before for it's a charity organization called Lift for the 22 to represent the 22 veterans that commit suicide every year. So we put on a little exhibition out front of the gym, and we had a car deadlifted. So I deadlifted a car for 22 reps.
That's kind of impressive. I'm imagining this was not a little VW Beetle either.
No, it was a 4-door sedan, I guess. I don't know.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good time. I just love lifting, man. Everything's my favorite. Well, I guess not everything, but most things are my favorite. Alberto mentioned that circus dumbbell earlier, and that's kind of a pain in my ass. But so if you can imagine the biggest dumbbell you've seen in your gym, it's probably about 4 times that size. The handle is anywhere from 2 inches to 3 inches around, so you can't even get your hand. Well, normal human beings can't get their hand all the way around the handle, and you have to set it up on your shoulder, partially on your head, to press it overhead.
So you start on the ground. You kind of one-handed clean this thing up into your shoulder, and then from your shoulder, it looks like you do like a little bit of a dip, and then you gotta straighten that arm out and pretty much Statue of Liberty this thing.
Yep, absolutely. And ours at our gym empty are 80 pounds and 98 pounds, and then you can put weights on them.
So what's the most you've ever done?
The most I've ever successfully completed was 125 pounds once. I believe the world record's somewhere in the 340 range.
So you're close.
Yeah, I'm real close.
And what about deadlift and squat?
My all-time regular conventional deadlift is 505. My squat is 515, and my bench pressing for me is kind of weak. But my all-time bench is 315 once. Everything else is it just depends on what's happening and what's going on. But like my last competition was an axle, that's 2-inch bar instead of a regular bar. And you clean and press it. That was 225 for 1 rep, and then you go straight to the log press, which is exactly how it sounds. It's a giant log size bar that has weights on the end of it, and you clean and press that. That was 225, and I just missed that one. But I've done 225 before. But
so as somebody who's not totally familiar with the strongman idea, how are you judged for doing these things? Is it based on your body look as you're doing it? Is it based on the fact that you can do it and how long it takes you? How are you scored to be the best in the competition?
Right. You have, first it starts with the weight classes. So however many people are in your weight class, that's how many points there are. Like if I have 5 people in my weight class, then they have an event set up. Like the first event that I did was that axle clean and press, log clean and press, and then circus dumbbell press. That's one event out of the whole entire contest. So if let's say I axle pressed and then I missed the log and didn't get to go to the circus dumbbell, I get a point for the axle. The next guy that goes, same weight class, he does the axle and the log, he automatically beats me. The next guy goes, he does the axle, the log, and the circus dumbbell for 1, he beats that guy, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And then other events, like Alberto said, there was a truck pull each guy in the weight class gets a turn. Whoever pulls it the fastest, does the best, second fastest, third fastest, and so on.
Okay.
And then at the end of the day, it's all events are tallied, and then you get a placing from there.
Yeah, and when I say truck pull, he's not wearing a harness and pulling a truck. He's basically got his feet not even fit, like he's bracing up against a 2x4 on the floor, and he's got a rope in his hands, and he's pulling a truck hand over hand.
Yep, the rope's connected to the truck, and then it's arm over arm pull. You just pull with your back and your arms and get that thing pulling towards you like it's going to run you over.
Wow. And you enjoy this?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What was there a moment in your lifetime when you were doing one of these strongman competitions or whatever, but you pulled that truck over the mark or whatever the case may be? You're like, holy cow, I just did this. Like, do you remember the first time where it's like, wow, kind of thing?
Almost every time's like that.
So you get the rush even still, no matter what. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're beat to crap at the end of the day. And like this last competition, it took 8 hours to complete the whole entire thing, which was a pretty long day. I competed in bodybuilding once, which wasn't really my thing, but then I got into powerlifting, which is you just do squat, bench, and deadlift. And when you're getting ready to lift and all the other people in the sport that day are there and everybody's cheering everybody on and everybody's right there to assist you with whatever you need. And, we're all competing against each other, but at the same time, at the end of the day, we're all brothers and sisters trying to do the best that we can do for ourselves. Like that just sold me immediately in powerlifting. And then also in strongman, it's the same thing. If you guys happen to go back and watch any of my videos, or I can post one into the Keto Man's group, but there was an event where I had to carry a 475-pound frame, then pick up it was like a T-bar with weights on it that was 250 pounds, carry it back, and then pick up a 250-pound stone. Well, it mimics a stone, but it's an implement. You put it on your chest and you walk back down again with it. It was the most cardiovascular thing that I've ever done, and I seriously felt like I was going to explode by the time I was done. But if you watch the video, you can see almost everybody in the competition, competitors, fans, the judges, everybody just screaming and, come on, you can do it, you can make it. And that's the best feeling ever. Even if you don't make it, just everybody's there for everybody. So
yeah. How does your wife feel about having a husband whose biceps are as big as her head?
That's actually her favorite part. She's told me before that I need to go back to bodybuilding so they get bigger, but I think she likes the strongman aspect too, so I can pick up whatever she needs me to pick up.
For
Usually,
those who are,
she comes home from the grocery store and then I carry everything in. So
the reference is a photo that Aaron put up in the Keto Man's Club earlier in May. And I'm looking at it right now. It says, I was posing for my wife after an at-home workout, and she wanted to see if my arms were as big as her head. And I see a little bit of her forehead, a little bit of her hairline, and that's about it. So you knocked it out with that one, sir.
So let's talk a little bit about how your family and friends, maybe these other competitors that you've, fighting side by side with, for those that know that you're keto, what have their reactions been? Do you have any other athletes that are like, dude, you need the carbs, or, those types of things? What has that been like?
yes, absolutely. Every single person I talk to, dude, you need to eat carbs. And I'm like, well, I'm right here next to you lifting the same you are. I obviously don't really need them, but I mean, I've gotten it from my strength coach. I mean, I coach people as well, but the guy that's making my program, every time we talk, are you gonna eat carbs now? You gonna eat carbs again now? I'm like, no, dude, we talked about this multiple times. I do keto now. This is how I'm gonna train, and this is how I'm gonna compete. Luckily, my wife has been on board since day one, so that makes everything super easy. We struggle together, and every once in a while we'll want that donut, but every time we talk each other off the ledge or whatever. But anybody else, family members, friends, anybody I've talked to, they're like, oh, that's just a fad diet. You're going to have a heart attack or, whatever. And I'm like, dude, you need to look at the research and you need to see the studies and hear these people and talk to these people that have, been doing it for 6 months, a year, 2 years longer. And they're the epitome of health, I don't know how you can argue with that. It may not be the diet or the way of eating for everyone, but
yeah, the fad diet thing never goes away. Yeah, I'm 3 years in, and I still get that to this day. Like you can't do that forever. I'm like, well, 3 years is a pretty good stretch of time. I guess I might as well stick to another 3 more to see what happens, just for your benefit.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. So yeah, and I hope to continue that. And I mean, I'm not trying to prove to anybody that this is the way to be or that they should be competing as a ketogenic athlete, but this is what I do, and I proof to show you that it can be done. So
So, what is your favorite food? What is it that and I've used this in episode. I
Donuts.
said this in from your past
Oh wait,
life.
sorry.
I totally get that.
That's not
Totally
keto. Wait,
accept
let's
that
go
answer.
back.
I live in Round Rock, Texas, home of the Round Rock donut. Is the absolute best donut in the world. I can't have it. But
Nice.
yeah,
Oh yeah, that Round Rock donut's no joke. I'm just lucky that I moved down
Yeah.
here before I started keto, and
Yeah,
at
me
least
too.
I got to experience the Round Rock donut
me too.
before I completely changed everything.
But yeah, so
Nice.
what is your favorite keto food? And as we said in episode 1, it can't be steak.
Right. Yeah. So I was thinking about that, and my absolute easiest answer is bacon. So like pig steak.
I'll take it. Pig steak.
Pig
Yes, I will
steak.
take that answer.
That is freaking brilliant. Why has nobody ever thought of that? You need a leg claim on that, Aaron, man, and like trademark it or whatever.
Yeah, that's
Pig
that's
steak.
Gotta add that to the
Wow.
T-shirt list.
Yes.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yes.
okay. So Aaron,
But seriously, we'll come home and eat half a pound of bacon for a snack.
I'm surprised it's only half a pound.
Well, yeah.
One of the things, and I bring this up because I think that it's an important thing to say, is you're a professional at this. This is something that you're sponsored, and some of your sponsors aren't your typical, or they aren't keto related. So you've mentioned it one or two. Talk about how that dynamic has been for you. What has that been?
What's not keto about a pancake house and a pizza place? I mean, come on.
The pancake and the pizza part.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right.
There you go.
I forgot about those. It's actually been super easy. Jimmy's Pancake House is the pancake house, and they're actually only a few blocks from my house. They're super popular in our area, and it's a family-owned restaurant. They're originally from Greece. There's like 20 booths and 6 tables. It's just a little shop. Of course, before keto, I would get a whole plate of pancakes and biscuits and gravy and French toast, whatever. But, I've explained to them what I'm doing, and then that's how I'm doing it. And I'll get just an omelet and a side of bacon, or a side of sausage, and their bacon and their sausage and their omelets are amazing. Anything that has carbs with it, they'll take it off or replace it or substitute it for me. So, I mean, that place super easy, just like any other breakfast place. I'm sure you just go in and order anything that's keto friendly, and you're good to go.
So you're saying it's possible?
Oh,
That's
absolutely
amazing.
That, my friend, is my absolute favorite thing about eating keto. Like I said before, I've tried numerous diets. And your friend calls, hey man, we're gonna go out for drinks. Oh, I can't, I'm doing this diet. Hey man, we're gonna go out for breakfast. I can't, I'm doing this diet. I can't eat that shit. Hey man, we're gonna go out for pizza and a beer later. Oh, can't do that, I'm on a diet. That keto's the best. You can do anything anywhere and make it fit how we needed to have it fit. Which, pizza and a beer, that leads to my other sponsor, St. Giuseppe's Heavenly Pizza. And those guys just came out, I think it was sometime last year, with a crustless pizza. So they just have a tin, like a metal tin bowl, and just put all the toppings, and it's amazing.
You're very
That's
lucky.
awesome.
That does not exist in my town at all. And I've tried.
Oh, yeah.
I know 2 different pizza place owners and said, make a crustless pizza. It's not that hard. Here's a picture. Here's others. Oh yeah, we need to do that. So the fact that you found one that does it and hopefully does it well, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's the best, man. And he was doing it before we even got in contact with each other. We were eating regular pizza from them forever. But I think from us eating so many crustless pizzas, he was having a hard time with all the leftover dough, because just a week ago he came out with the Pizza Zone, which is a whole entire pizza with crust on the top and the bottom.
Ah, okay.
Well,
That obviously is not keto, but
Making it work.
he's doing what he needs.
But you can
to do.
still look across the room and appreciate what it is.
right, absolutely.
Well, it's great that your sponsors have been willing to work with you and understand that this is important to you, and that's really beyond the idea that yes, you can go to these places and ask for seemingly simple modifications and get it done fairly easily, and
Yep,
beyond
absolutely.
that, yeah, and then beyond that, you can still get your sponsorships, you can still make these deals and continue to do what you're doing, and that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I can still promote them and not feel like I'm, lying to the customers or to myself or whatever. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's
That's
awesome.
so huge. That's
Mhm.
so huge. Okay, so So we're kind of coming close on time. So let's go ahead and start wrapping things up a bit. We already talked to. Go ahead.
I just want to ask one last thing. I apologize, but tell me, because we haven't really talked about the club, but real quick, what have you enjoyed about Keto Man's Club? Because every one of our guests has had taken some benefit out of being part of that group. So what's been a benefit for you?
Great question. I was wondering about that. It's mostly been the shirtless pictures of Alberto and all the meat he's cooking.
Free the keto nipple, the hashtag that will
That's
never
right.
die.
Well,
Yep.
neither one of those two things are going to slow down anytime soon. So I'm lucky you.
I'm coming for you, man. I told you. I'm going to start posting every day. No shirt. No, it's a great place.
Love it.
I'm glad that I know there's the toxic masculinity has been thrown around a lot lately, and I know that men have a hard time speaking their mind, talking their feelings. They think that they can't talk to their spouse or their friends or whatever, and it is easier to talk to someone you don't know, in depth in person to share your feelings and emotions. So that it's a great place to do that. I mean, it's not just about eating steak and bacon. It's everybody's there. It's just like to take it back to my sport of choice.
Right.
Everybody's there for each other. Everybody's cheering each other on. It doesn't matter if you've lost weight, gained weight, fell off the wagon. It doesn't matter. We're not competing against each other. We're all there to help each other become better versions of ourselves. And that's the most important thing right there.
Amen.
Good deal. Glad to hear
I
it.
think you've got the idea of our mission here, what we're trying to do, because that's it, pretty much
For sure.
pretty much echoing what our desire is. And so men being able to be men around men and be able to be real, which is such an important thing, but also to be healthy. And for us, keto is how we do that.
Right.
So yeah, with that, is there any other questions from the other two guys? I think I'm tapped out. Aaron's great job of answering our 20 questions so far.
Hey, anytime.
Yeah, I just got one only because I'm actually watching your videos right now. Like, is this in a hotel conference room?
Yes, it is. It's at the Grand Harbor Resort in Dubuque, Iowa.
That's and they don't have any problem with you guys like dropping thousands of pounds on their floors like repeatedly. It's hilarious. I mean, it's so surreal because I mean I'm staring at him pull a truck inside a hotel conference room. They're doing all these moves with what is at least 225 pounds, and when you can't get it, what are you gonna do? You're gonna drop it, and yeah, that's I'm just curious. Like it's fascinating, and man, you are incredibly fast and incredibly strong.
Well, thank you for that. If you notice, there's black mats underneath everything we're doing. I don't know how well you can see that in the videos, but so those are like half an inch thick black rubber mats that you can, a lot of gyms have those, but they specifically brought those from their gym to keep underneath whatever we would be dropping or throwing or whatever. And that, believe it or not, that small amount actually provides a lot of protection to the floors. And I'm sure that's probably the only way they allowed them to do it is since they had that.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a post from May 5th. Look it up, Aaron Overstreet. It's spelled the way it sounds, and he's got what I'm looking at. I think about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 videos up here, and it's something else, man. You definitely got to watch it to appreciate it. You want to talk about cardiovascular movements? Yeah, this is incredible.
It hurts to breathe, man. That carry event, I had to take off my belt and lay down. It hurt to breathe. It was bad. But I made it and, never give up. So
absolutely. Jim, how about you? Any parting sharks?
Again, as I said at the beginning of the episode, grateful for all the people who are tuning in and listening to the podcast. We're a few weeks out on this one from when we launched. So as you're hearing this, we continue to rack up new followers, new listeners, new members to the club, and just very, very grateful for the whole experience. So keep on keeping on, everybody.
Okay, so one of the things that we normally do is we do a round robin, and obviously all four of us are in the Facebook group, so you get in contact with us there. So for those that want to get to my other social media that I have that's ketogenic related, you can find me at Duckman Keto on Instagram. That's probably where you'll find my keto specific stuff. Otherwise, you've got Duckman 1221 for all of my day-to-day stuff. So Jim, what's your social information?
As you mentioned, great way to catch me is through the Keto Man's Club on Facebook. You can also find me on Instagram, Jim Inman Jr., Jim Inman Jr. On there, you'll see pictures of my dogs and life in general. So tag me, check me out over there as well.
Okay, very good. And Aaron, how can people get a hold of you? Is it just through the Facebook group mainly?
I'm definitely in the Facebook group very often. Anytime anybody ever needs to talk to me, they can hit me up there. Other than that, I'm just on regular, normal old Facebook. So you can just search me, Aaron Overstreet, find somebody lifting something. That's probably me.
Very cool. That's easy to find that way. That's a good marker. Alberto just dropped off suddenly due to technical issues, so we're just gonna give his information out here real quick. He is at capital_painter on Instagram, so you can go follow him and his randomness. He's also posting a lot on the on our podcast Instagram, so you'll want to follow us all as we're all submitting to it. That is at Keto Man's Club Podcast. So make sure that you give us a follow on Instagram. If you aren't a member of the Facebook group, an easy way to find it is to go to theketomansclub.com. Our website is there for you to easily find our Facebook group right now. And then the last thing is we want to invite you, if you have any questions, comments, ideas, we'd love to hear those, and you can email those to us. The email address for that is ketomansclubpodcast@gmail.com. Okay, so that's enough of all that. We really appreciate you tuning in today. And Aaron, thank you again for being on the podcast. It was great to get to know you a little bit better and to get to dive a little bit deeper into your life and your journey. We look forward to getting to see more strongman stuff coming from you, fueled by fat. That sounds like it will be a lot of fun. So that's, yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, guys. It was awesome.
Much appreciated.
So that's all for us this week. Go ahead and make sure that you subscribed, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us for the Keto Man's Club podcast. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Would you help us spread the word about the Keto Man's Club by sharing with your friends and family? We're available on all podcast platforms, so just search for Keto Man's Club and you'll find us. If you would like to connect with us, you can do so a number of ways. Our web address leads to our Facebook group, theketomansclub.com. That's TheKetoMansClub.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Keto Man's Club Podcast. Lastly, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out via email to KetoMansClubPodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to hanging out with you again next week.